Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about QHHT hypnosis, which a lot of you guys are familiar with because of first of all, our love for Dolores Cannon. But also, a lot of you have told me over the last couple years that you learned about Dolores Cannon because of my series. So, as we know, QHHT is a style of hypnosis. It's called quantum healing hypnosis technique. And it's a very interesting style of hypnosis because what you actually do is regress the person not only to a past life, sometimes they will go to a past life, sometimes not. But then after they move through that life, we move them into their subconscious mind. And when we're in the subconscious mind, what makes this a very unique style of hypnosis is that you get to ask anything that you want. So that's pretty rare compared to other styles of hypnosis where you just experience something or relive something. But in this case, you actually can ask anything that you'd like. So with that, I had a very interesting hypnosis session this past weekend. Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome. And also, just by chance, my friend Marcella Kroll, who, as you guys know, she created my favorite oracle deck, the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck. And so, with that, I put her under hypnosis last year. And it wasn't until just this weekend, she was driving to Roswell for the conference. There was a UFO conference this past weekend in Roswell. So she was driving there for the conference and decided, why don't I re-listen to the recording of my hypnosis? And it was so cool because we put her under last year, maybe, I don't know the month of it. I think she said what month it was, but over a year ago. And so many of the things that came through in that hypnosis was exactly what she needed to hear right now. So the subconscious mind is always, that's why it's really important when you do these hypnosis, especially with QHHT, it's important to have it recorded and it's important to listen to it. Yes. So Natasha, the clip on Spotify was good. So if you guys wanted to hear a couple of clips from her hypnosis, go to Saved by the Spell podcast on Spotify. It's only 15 minutes long and it's just a couple of little excerpts from her hypnosis recording. And what's so funny is everyone's higher self is really different. So Marcella's higher self is a jokester. Mine is also like that. So it was cool that we were laughing a bit because not every session is like that. Now, the session that I did this past weekend was my friend's daughter-in-law, and she's in her 20s, maybe around 25, 26 years old. So we did a session with her as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both of those. And over here on YouTube, if you guys are interested, let me put this up. I just created a YouTube playlist that has a couple of different other things I've talked about with QHHT before. So if you see here, I had my live QHHT session that we did with Sarah Brexman Cosme, which we live streamed. That was awesome. I have that. So I did a QHHT playlist on my YouTube. The next video is some previous stories from people that I've put under, and then past life stuff, things that I've learned under hypnosis. And this last one, the alien abduction hypnosis, was actually Yvonne Smith's method, which is different than QHHT, but really interesting. So if you want more and you want to hear more, go check out Marcella's little clips from her hypnosis, which is on Saved by the Spell on Spotify. It's only 15 minutes. And like I said, so her higher self is a jokester and funny. And Beachy said, my QHHT was pretty sad with my past life. Could I control where I go? Well, what's really important about QHHT, so before I get into some of the personal stuff about people's sessions, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of post-hypnotic suggestion that say several times that it's a past life, leave it where it is. We all use, everyone that does QHHT uses the same script. And the script, Dolores worked on that for 45 years, tweaking it, tweaking it, tweaking it. So, um, most of us have sad past lives. My friend that I just put under this weekend, she was an orphan. And, part of walking someone through a past life is you get them to observe the body, you get them to describe what the body is like. Are they boy? Are they a girl? About what age? And then you bring them to their home. But when she started describing that she had no shoes and tattered clothes and she was a little kid and that she didn't really know anyone around her, I was like, "Oh no, this sounds like an orphan." And then I was like, and this was in a past life, obviously, that seemed she felt it was around the 1800s. So it is sad because then you're supposed to bring someone to their home, and through their home, you get to learn more about their life, about their family, about the time frame that they're living in because the way that different homes were. So, when I tried to bring her in this past life where she was a little boy to her home, unfortunately, um, she said she didn't have one, and I kind of assumed that that's where it was going. But that's okay because my past lives were all horrible as well. I have different videos here on YouTube, like on that playlist I just showed you guys. I mean, all the past lives were horrible. So it actually makes me very grateful for this life because in all of those other lives, I never had like any opportunity to make any choices for myself. I was always at like the whim of other people. I was always like, the one that I had when I went under hypnosis under QHHT, um, also around the 1800s, and it seemed like I lived in San Francisco, and I was married to the person who had, assaulted me because that was the only choice. So, that was really, and he died, and then I was, like, pretty happy. But then we had a child because of that assault, so then I always kind of held it against the child in that life, and I felt not even so sad for myself, but I felt more sad for the child looking back that I didn't really give the child enough love that it deserved from its mother because it didn't really ask to be born in that situation. But it was hard for me to connect with the child because of the circumstances that it was born because of. Um, and then at the end of that life, the child took care of me with his wife when I was dying. And then I felt even more guilty, like I didn't deserve to be taken care of because I wasn't taking care of the child properly. You're from the Philippines, and is it possible to do QHHT on your own? No, so you do need a practitioner. You do need a practitioner. So, another thing. So, Dolores Cannon developed this method of hypnosis and she developed it for 40 years. So, it's very important that people stick to the script that she created because it has post hypnotic suggestion that reminds you that this past life is done, that version of yourself is doing its own thing. It is not connected to you now and that the only life that matters is the life that you're living now. So, the first time I did a hypnotic regression for a past life, which I've talked about, and I won't get full into detail. Like I said, I just put a playlist on my YouTube. If you go to the JK Ultra YouTube channel, it's one of the playlists there. I have a live one of me going under. I have ones where I talk about other people's experiences that I've put under, and then also ones where I've talked about all of my experiences with past lives. So I won't get into that. But the first time I did a past life regression was not QHHT. It was just a regular past life regression. And um, it didn't have all of these different post hypnotic suggestions that tell you to let it go. It's not yours. So I was actually traumatized for like 8 years because of that past life regression because I really absorbed the pain from it. So that's why I do really love QHHT. Oh, Haley, you're so right. So Haley said, "Oh my God, your child was doing some generational healing." It feels like, yeah, I do feel like that. I feel like they were by taking care of me at the end of that lifetime. There was generational healing happening. Um, okay. you wonder about that child now. Now, what's interesting is I feel that that was my most recent ex-boyfriend, the one that got possessed. I felt that it was him, that he was my child in that life. So I don't know. Um, make of that what you will. Let's see. Oh, thanks for the gifts, guys. Aw, thank you. Who did I learn QHHT from? I learned it from the official QHHT program, which was developed by Dolores Cannon and her family. So, uh, also, as you guys know, I've been hinting at it for a while that I am going to start doing the sessions, offering them. Right now, as you know, I've only been doing them with people that I know. And so before I get into the hypnosis session from this week, which was super cool. So I think after I do I'm going to be going to Peru. And so after I go to Peru, I'm going to need some integration time. So that will be in August. So I'm planning in September to open my books for hypnosis, but I'm going to do online. So it is going to be QHHT, but I'm not going to call it that out of respect for Dolores because Dolores did not want it done online. But, you know, I did it online. As you guys know, you can watch it being done live digitally on my, uh, being done to me being put under digitally. So because I was put under digitally through a computer, I feel that it was safe to do. I've meditated on it. I've asked the Akashic records and I've gotten all yes answers. So what I'm going to do is, out of respect to Dolores and to the QHHT Foundation, not going to call it that. So I'm just going to call it hypnosis, but it will be using Dolores's script. And I will probably change one thing in the script to make sure, BQH is done online. Um, so basically what I'm gonna do is change one part of the thing, or I'm gonna talk to a couple people that are experts about it and see what's the best way to do it. Would I ever offer them in person? You know Oh, yes, Natasha, I know I still owe you for when I first went online. I'm gonna do one on you. So once I am there and practicing my first one to do online with the slightly different hypnotic suggestion about just in case anything happens, just in case the internet goes down, or just in case like you lose connection for a second, I want to put a little bit of one extra hypnotic suggestion in there so that if anything happens, I'm here, you contact me back, you'll be able to get back online, you'll be able to contact with me again. And that's the one thing that I want to make sure that I add and that I talk to a couple of experts before I do that. So I know it can be done online. Like I said, I already did it online. I'm not going to call it QHHT, but for that, that's one thing that I want to make sure that I do properly, that there's some type of hypnotic suggestion that assures everyone that if your computer dies, if your internet gives out, you'll be able to get up and do the things do to get your computer, to get your stuff back. That's probably not going to happen. I'm going to create a nice little checklist of everything that the person has to make sure of their internet, of their settings, of their computer being plugged in, all of those things. So that's what I want to make sure that I'm 100% covered before I offer it. So, let's talk a little bit about this session that I did this past weekend. Um, Allison Coe does them on YouTube. Her vids, she reads the transcripts. Um, yeah, I have to look into her. I've heard her name before. Would I offer them in person? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't have the type of place. My place is not good to do them. I have a very noisy apartment, but also, I don't have a great parking situation. I'm near Hollywood Boulevard. Your car would not be safe where it is for as long as we need. I don't want any other things to worry about. And then also traveling to people is kind of a nightmare, like literally just to get like 30 miles in LA takes over an hour. So, I don't want to be traveling to people either. But if there was like a very specific special circumstance, then maybe I would consider it, but it's kind of off the table for me. Okay, so this session that when will I start accepting appointments? That's going to be in September, I believe. So I might put up a little bit of a wait list or some pre stuff in August once I'm back from Peru. Maybe I can get an office or a room one day. Yeah, but also it's not something that I, actively want to. I'm only going to do a couple a month. I'm going to do 2 or 3 a month and then that's it, and just keep it very like contained. Because that was the other thing, is that they do take a lot of energy and time from me as well. Okay. So let's see. Others offer from time to time. Okay. Um, Hello, everybody. I know everybody's interested. That's something that, so just keep that in mind, because that will be in probably September. And maybe I'll start to like put out a couple of um, feelers in August, because I know a bunch of people are interested. Okay. So this session that I had this weekend. So was with my friend's daughter-in-law. So it's her son's girlfriend. And when I was in Utah, I stayed with them at their house. And the second that I saw this girl, she's like about 25, 26 years old. The second that I saw her, I was like, because her face looks like the drawings of the hybrid children. And, the hybrid children, they kind of have a lot of times, the way that they're drawn, not saying they only come in this form, but a lot of times when people have been abducted and then they draw the hybrid children that they met, a lot of times they have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they look kind of like Nordic aliens, kind of like the image of Pleiadians. However, their features are very different. They have these kind of almond eyes, but that are shaped more like this, more like gray shape. So the eyes are more shaped like this, but then they look normal, almost like Nordic aside from that. But the eyes are like blue and very piercing blue, but then like shaped in this almond way. And when I met her, I was immediately like, she looks like the drawings of the hybrid kids. And she's grown up, she's in her 20s, so she looks like an adult version of these drawings that Yvonne Smith specifically has put forward. And when I saw this, I was like, oh my God. But that's not something I'm going to just say to someone. I'm not going to say you look like a hybrid alien to someone that I don't know. And I don't even know if they're into aliens, if they believe it. And so, but every time I would like look at her, I was like, oh my God, she looks like those freaking drawings. But I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to be like, are you into aliens? Have you ever been abducted or anything like that? I don't know when I had just met her, I didn't know what her beliefs were or anything like that. And then on the last night that I was in Utah, we were sitting around and she's like, I wanted to ask you because I know that you know a lot about aliens and stuff. She said, I had this weird experience when I was a child. And she said, I had this like kind of white light experience where I saw this white light in my bedroom. And then after that, I had memories of being examined on a table. It was the white light. And then she said from the white light, she was getting examined on a table. And is she the girl from my so-called life? No, she's too young to be the girl from my so-called life. She's only about 25, 26 years old. Daughter-in-law has left the chat. So, Claire Danes. A little bit, but honestly, like much more angular eyes. Like her eyes, like she looks German almost, but then like the eyes are very almond shaped and very like angular. And I like every time I would look at her, I was like, oh my God, I want to ask this girl if she was abducted so bad. But I'm not going to ask, like, it's kind of rude to just ask someone, like, hey, were you abducted? Oh, hello, Marcella. We were just talking about you, but we haven't gotten fully into that yet. So, so basically, then I'm like staring at her like, I feel like this girl's a hybrid. And then last night in Utah, she tells me she had the white light experience and then has memories of being abducted. Well, not abducted, memories of being examined. And then, like she said, she was on like an operating table, and that she says also that she has memories from childhood of her, flying over her city, and she said that it was so accurate, that the way that she saw herself flying over the city was not just, like, flying over. She said, like, it was specifically where everything was from the aerial view, and it wasn't like, she had Google Maps or anything at the time, and so she was, like, had these weird memories, and basically, once she said that, I was like, okay. So I know how to do this hypnosis. If you're down, next time I see you, I would love to put you under and get some answers. I'm like, so in the meantime, work on some questions. Now, different questions. Was she in the astral? She doesn't know. She just has these memories from childhood. So it's like she doesn't know what form they were in. Like she said, it almost felt like a dream, but then they're so vivid and so accurate to her neighborhood that she lived in, which was in San Diego at the time. And so that's another thing that Yvonne Smith talks about a lot, which is very common in people who were abducted, is that they have the visuals of flying over their city, but that it is very accurate of their city. So I was like, "Oh, girl. Hello, girl. We gotta get in there. If you're down, let's do it." And so that was about a month ago, and then just this past weekend, she was in LA, or well, Orange County, and so I went to Orange County and we put her under hypnosis. So, it wasn't only about that, because with QHHT, the first most important thing is your life purpose, healing, any type of information that you need to be stepping into your purpose, into your life, to having a more fulfilling life. So, that was what we first focused on. So we asked about her life experience, her purpose, things like that. Why did she incarnate into her family? But she had a lot of curious questions. So let's skip to the end, which is where I asked her about her experience as a child, of the white light experience. So, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like, is she a hybrid?" But, you always thought it was a common dream of your childhood. Maybe you guys have abduction experiences. Let's see, you had an experience of being pulled above your condo complex and seeing airplane level last year. Oh, interesting. Oh, wouldn't an orphan subconsciously fit to the hybrid child's identity? Yeah, so first when she went under, she was an orphan, and she lived in this, town as an orphan. There was this baker who helped her with some food and some clothes, and then eventually, as she grew up in that life, she was able to get a business. But what's so interesting is that when she had the business, she always felt like missing kind of the homeless life, having no responsibility, which was really interesting. But so we talk about different things. One of her questions was about her metaphysical body. She wanted to know, what does my metaphysical body look like? What is, like, what do I look like on the other side, basically? And she also wanted to know, like, is she a star seed and stuff like that? Is she from another planet? And what's interesting is they were not saying that she was. They were saying, like, not exactly from another planet. That actually she was living in this kind of non-physical, other dimensional place, that when the way she described it, she says it kind of looked like the center of, like, a nebula galaxy, but that it was like she had a astral type of body in this other dimensional place, which is her other form and where she's from, so that she's not really from another physical planet, and she's not really from, like, another alien planet like a starseed would be, but that she saw her metaphysical body, which was like speckles of light, like particles, in the shape of a person. So, like a light body, but not exactly a fully glowing light body. It had particles. And then we asked about the color of it, and the color was purple and green with some white. Now, what's so interesting is she actually bought me a gift. So she bought me a gift, which I didn't get until after this session. She gave it to me. And she bought me this water bottle, which maybe you can't really see. Oh, it's underwhelming to see. You can maybe if there was water in it. But basically, there's a giant fluorite in here, which is purple and green with a little bit of white. So, how funny is that? That her metaphysical body is that color. And that was the color of crystal that she was drawn to when she bought me this gift. And I didn't even see it until after the session. Was it the angelic realm? You were crushed when you heard you're not a starseed, but was told you're from the angelic realm. I was like, wait, angels are real? Oh, that's interesting, Haley. The same exact thing happened to my friend, where she was always very connected to the star seeds, and then she heard that she was from the angelic realm. I have a lot of thoughts on that. But so it was interesting that her metaphysical body was almost like from a interdimensional place, not another planet. Okay, so then we go through some different things in her life. She also wanted to know, why was she so connected to like nuclear technology? Like, her hobby is like the rabbit hole she wants to go down is like the atomic bomb, nuclear energy. What else could nuclear energy be used for? All of these different things like that. And so she was wondering, is that connected to my white light experience? Is that connected to this possible alien experience that I had? What was interesting is the information that came through is it was actually from her past life. Oh, see, I see my friend Andrea's here too. Andrea, I found your recording for your QHHT, and I'm going to send it to you after this because I was looking right before I came on. So I have your recording. I just found it like 10 minutes ago. So she wanted to know about her past life, and or she wanted to know what it was, what was her, like, infatuation in information with this, like, nuclear energy and the atomic bomb and all this stuff that because it's not the most interesting thing for people. That's not my rabbit hole that I wanna go down, you know? So what was interesting is the information that came through is that it was a past life. Her most recent past life was actually there was 3 scientists, and maybe if you guys know anything about where this happened, if you're like a history buff, if this is your thing, send me information about it because she's trying to figure out where it's from. And so, there was 3 researchers who were working on basically she said it happened around the 1940s, and there was 3 researchers. She was one of the researchers, and they were doing these test explosions over water, and something went wrong and the 3 of them were killed. And so that's why she's had this interest in it. It wasn't actually connected to the white light experience. So then I ask her, I'm like, okay, so this white light experience that she had as a child, and feeling of being examined, what was that? So they said that this memory that she has as a child was real, and that it basically, um, these beings saw her as a good subject. So they considered her to be a pure subject, like maybe she was in good health, and they said that she was malleable. So they were looking for people who were more genetically malleable. And what they did was they actually examined her, and there was a bit of an exchange. So basically, they helped her with something and took something from her that would help them. And she couldn't get a ton of information. So she said she felt like when we were asking about it, almost like there was walls up. So she was trying to get more information, but it was kind of vague. She felt like there were walls up. And that's how I felt the first time I went under hypnosis and asked about my UFO experience. It felt like all of a sudden, like the subconscious mind had walls up, and it was like maybe it was like not safe to know the UFOs are fallen angels. That sounds really dumb. I think you mean aliens, which I disagree with, but um the UFOs are craft. So then it was the same thing how I felt of like walls being up from the subconscious mind where all these other answers are coming through perfectly normal. And then all of a sudden it feels like, oh, wait, I can't get all the answers. So it told her that basically they, and then I was like, so was this what we would call an abduction? And it was like, yes. I was like, okay, so she was abducted as a child. And I said, was there any other abductions after that? And they said, well, she was observed after that. So they continuously observed her throughout her life, but there wasn't other abductions exactly where they took her on the ship. So they, why am I out of focus? Hello? Okay. um so so then now what was interesting is when she came up, she had a little bit of extra information. So it was almost like she got the information, but she didn't verbalize it at the time. Because when she came up after, she was like, that's so interesting. They altered my appearance, but that wasn't what she verbally said. So it was almost like she got that information, but didn't fully verbalize it, which is exactly what happened in my hypnosis the first time when we talked about the UFO stuff. I had the same experience where I kind of got information non-verbally, but that I didn't fully say, and then when I was up, I remembered it, but I didn't express it out loud. So that was the same thing that happened to her when she was up from the hypnosis. She said, "That was so interesting. They altered my appearance almost to make it more, like, accepted to people, that like almost like getting people used to the look of the hybrid children. So it wasn't exactly that she was a hybrid, or maybe she is and she wasn't ready for that information, but it wasn't exactly she was a hybrid. It was that they found her to be malleable and they manipulated some things. And then, and it's just so interesting because her look looked exactly like the hybrid children. When I saw her, I was like, and then it's so interesting that she had this inclination after that she felt that she had been appearance-wise changed. And then I said, like, "Okay, so what did they want to do with her? Did they help her with anything? Did they change anything? What did they change about her?" And she said there was things that were changed physically and things that were changed almost energetically and psychologically. And they said that what they helped her with was, to read people's energy different. So basically, they said that one of the things that so they did something that was to benefit them, and exchange did something to benefit her. So when she came up, she felt that it was her appearance that they changed to benefit them. But then what they did to benefit her, which she did verbally say in the hypnosis, was that it was to manipulate her reading of people's energy so that she could tell their intentions more. So they almost gave her like this bit extra bit of protection, almost like a psychic type of protection, that she was able to read people's energy, which is interesting because when we talked about parts of her life, she talked about how one of her questions was, why does she shake around some people? So there's a couple people in her life that she rarely sees now, but she saw them more as a child, where she would almost have like a little like a tremor around them, and she would feel really like shaky around certain people. And that was one of the things that they did, was when people were trying to penetrate her energy, or trying to almost energy vampire type of thing, that she would get this type of feeling. So it was interesting because that was one of her previous questions, is why do I get this around certain people? And she feels uncomfortable with it, obviously, because it makes her embarrassed. But then it said that that was actually one of the things they did to manipulate her energy, was these energy vampire type of people who are trying to kind of drain energy from her or penetrate her energy, that she gets this trembling feeling. And so that was interesting. And so they kind of gave her, yes, the gift of discernment. And that's exactly like that was kind of what they gave her in exchange. And that they also still observe her. It was interesting because after she was up from the hypnosis, she said she's had these experiences in her life where she felt like she was being watched. And were not like anything crazy. She was just like, oh, sometimes she just had these feelings. And then after she had that experience. She was like, after we finished, then she was like, "Oh, now I kind of remember these certain moments where I felt that I was being observed." And she said also that her mom, when she was a kid, would say that she was afraid of aliens coming in through the window. So she used to tell her mom that she was afraid of aliens coming in, which is so interesting because I have the same thing. Oh, thank you for the gift, Todd. So I have the same thing from when I was a kid. After my UFO experience, I would have this fear of the window, that there was 3 aliens about to come through the window, and some nights when I would go to sleep, it would be fine, and some nights when I would go to sleep, I'd be like, "Oh my god, they're gonna come through the window tonight," but I would never have, you know, anything, whatever that I consciously remembered. Did you get into her life purpose? So, yes, when we do QHHT, that's usually one of the first things that we ask, and so her life purpose, like most people's, is to help others. Almost everyone has some type of purpose to either help or to heal something about themselves or to help others with something. So her purpose was to, let me see, to get the right wording for it. It was to help others understand things better. So almost like people who've had maybe traumatic experiences, to be able to help them understand better, but in a way that was connected to music. So, she always had a gift for music, but she's not exactly doing music. So it was interesting. We talked about that a little bit before her session, and then so much of what came through in her session was connected to music. So it was like, "Oh, girl, you need to start doing music." And what was interesting is one of her questions, and this is why you can never judge people's questions when they do QHHT, because even if you, as the practitioner, think you know the answer, don't know why someone wants to know this question, you can never judge the person's questions, no matter how kind of weird or different or maybe not important to you as it seems. Because one of her questions was, so a lot of her healing experiences were connected to certain things with music. So maybe a certain artist's music and a lot of stuff with festivals. So when she went to festivals, that was really when she started to feel like more like herself and more expressive. That's why like you also can't judge what people do. Like a lot of people will like, not saying that the festival she went to was Coachella, but like say like you could judge people for going to Coachella because it's kind of like not your thing, but you don't even know some people, they are in their element in that space with those people, with that freedom, with that environment. So what was interesting is she had this has had a lot of dreams about certain musicians that she felt connected to. Judging people for having fun in general is lame. That's true. And so she had like a lot of dreams of musicians saving her from, like, weird experiences and these reoccurring dreams, and she wanted to know, does she have any past life connection to maybe some of these artists? Because she says she doesn't know them in this life, she just likes their music, but she wanted to know, does she have any connection to them? And what was so freaking interesting, you guys, is this metaphysical thing, like, when she asked to see her metaphysical body where she was in this non-physical other dimensional place that she lived, the other beings, some of these music artists that she feels connected to have past lives there as well. And she said they have a similar mission. So she has this mission of helping people through music, helping them to understand themselves better through music and through talking as well, so that was also part of it. But they have the same mission. So these artists that she feels super connected to that really shifted her in life by finding their music, they also have the same life purpose to help people understand themselves through music. And that they all kind of have souls that originate at one point from the same place. So it's really interesting, like, um, you can never judge someone's questions in the hypnosis. Like, one time when I put someone under, my friend was like, "This is gonna sound really weird, but why do I feel like my teeth are not mine?" I was like, "You don't feel like your teeth are yours? Okay." And that's what I learned from Dolores. Like, in Dolores's books, she says, "Never judge these people's questions because there's a reason they want to know, and they could be asking something crazy to you." But my friend, so it's not my sister-in-law, it's my friend's daughter-in-law. Um, so this is a new friend of mine who's the daughter-in-law of a friend of mine. So now I'm friends with her, this girl. She's about 25, 26 years old. And when I met her last month, she looked like a hybrid. I'm just filling in people who are coming in now. She looked like a hybrid child. So I was like, I need to know. And then she had this white light experience. So my friend who had asked this question separately, another hypnosis where she said she didn't feel like her teeth were her own. Okay, sounds like a weird question, but let's ask it. And when we asked the question, she started laughing in the hypnosis and was like literally in tears laughing. And she was like, "Oh my God, the reason I don't feel like my teeth are mine is because in so many lives I didn't have teeth." She said, "Oh my God." She was like, "Most of my lifetimes I lost my teeth." She's like, "This is crazy. So the reason I feel like my teeth aren't mine is because I'm just not used to having them in this many human lives." She said, "Usually they fell out by now." I was like, "Oh my God, that's so funny." And then she was like, "Wow, no wonder. No wonder." And then so you can never really judge. You said, "I swear every time you have a question in your head, I answer it." Oh my God, Julie, did you have the question about teeth too? Because it's a very specific question. Yeah, they usually fell out. So, unfortunately, she felt that way, still a little bit disconnected from them in this life because this is her first life, that they have been in good condition, her teeth. Music is so powerful. Oh, about the music questions, right? Music is so powerful because of the efficiency in transmission and the myriad of high frequencies. Yeah. So, my friend Chelsea, who's a musician, she described it really well, that music is like pulling something from the ether because it's something non-physical. Even still, music is like something that is non-physical, even though you can bring it into the physical with an instrument, it's still in the ether. So being able to pull this into the ether and then change things based on this non-physical thing that you can kind of channel in and then bring into this life. Oh, hi, Roxy. Thank you for the gifts. Um, so you say you feel disconnected from your face. Who the heck's face is this? Maybe that's true. Maybe that you just have never had a face like this in a different life. You had a session in January and was conscious the whole time. It was so weird. So this is the thing with the hypnosis is I've asked Sarah Brexman Cosme about this before because she said when she first started doing QHHT in 2009, people were completely out. She said after 2012, most people remembered most of the session. Now, higher frequency, if you listen to your recording, I bet you there's going to be a lot of stuff you don't remember. Because even though you feel like you remember everything, when you go back and listen, it's always shocking. Like, it's always shocking. So, now let's switch and talk about Marcella. So Marcella Kroll, as you guys know, she created my favorite deck, the Sacred Symbols Oracle deck. And she we did a hypnosis last year, and she just listened to the recording now. So it's really good to listen to the recording, but you'll listen at the right time. So like my friend Andrea here too, I just found her recording. Hers is from 2020, I think, when we did hers. So it's several years old now. And everybody thinks that they remember all of this session, but in reality, when you go back and listen, it's like, so when we listen to channeled messages, it's coded with information from the subconscious mind. So when we listen to a channeled message, you know how sometimes if you listen to like a Pleiadian, like Bringers of the Dawn, it kind of feels almost like things in your body are encoding or like awakening or like sparking stuff in your DNA or even in your mind, and you kind of get more from it. So the same thing with the hypnosis, because the the same thing with the hypnosis is that your subconscious mind is using specific words for you. And so, oh yeah, thanks Natasha. Don't forget to like the live. And so, um so that's why it's so important to listen to the recording, but you will listen to the recording at the right time, because I listened to mine 2 or 3 days after the session. Everything was very fresh and I got more information, because when you're under hypnosis, it takes a little bit of time for you to get the information and then verbalize it. So you kind of have this like your mind is being very active at that moment, because you're basically getting information and translating it into words. Now, when you listen, you don't have that process going, and those words were encoded especially for you. So it kind of sometimes unlocks more memories when you listen, or gives more clarity to those memories, or you listen to it when the time is right. And this is what's so cool, is that Marcella's was over a year ago, but just this weekend, when she listened to it on the way to Roswell, it was everything that she needed to be reminded of at this time. So one of the things that was really interesting, which if you guys go and listen to her podcast, Saved by the Spell, she has about 15 minutes of clips from the hypnosis. And what's so interesting is at the time, she was really eager to get out of the place she was living in. She wanted to leave Long Beach, but she didn't know where. And it was so interesting because the hypnosis was like, "You're gonna go somewhere that you haven't considered yet. Don't worry, the time is gonna be right. It will be at the right time. You need to stay put right now until." And she was about to go through a medical procedure. So, she needed to make sure that she stayed safe where she was, and the time will be right when she gets where she needs to go. And then they were like, "It's gonna be someplace you haven't considered." And where did she end up? She ended up in Arizona, a place that she wasn't considering. Oh, thanks, Angelica. Thank you for the super chat. I didn't realize, I see this is in pounds. I didn't realize you weren't in the US. Oh, thank you. Like the words are hyper sigils. Very true, Whitney. It's almost like, yeah, like the words are encoded like a sigil. It's called Saved by the Spell. I love that. I know, isn't it the best? So it's cool because the episodes are very short too. So you should go back and listen, because there's a lot of different topics and stuff that she covers on there. So what was also funny is that everybody's higher self is very different. So Marcella's higher self is super like funny, and like mine is like that too. When I go under, mine is kind of like a bit of a jokester also. And so, but Marcella's, what was so funny is it was kind of like one of her questions was like, wow, like, how do I not care what people think? And the answer was everybody shits. Remember, everybody shits. It was like, so that's what's so funny. Oh, Donna, it was almost 2 years before you listened to your QHHT session. You remembered all of it. However, you didn't realize there was a theme until you listened to it, which was to do the right thing no matter what. Ooh, I love that. And thank you for the super chat. That's the thing, is there's always something that, like a different perspective. So sometimes you'll get more visuals, sometimes you'll get more information, sometimes you'll get a different understanding of what it is. And I love this, that there was a theme. And I wonder, Donna, did that theme, uh, when you listen to it, was it very relevant for something you were going through right now? Oh, Marcella, so many things that you needed to hear again in the moment that were relevant now. I'm telling you, it's right at the time that you need to hear it. Um, and that's the thing too. Like my friend Andrea, who I think she's on the TikTok live here. Uh, I've been telling her to listen to her recording from her hypnosis for years now. And then right now in the stage of her life that she's in, she's starting in a new project that she's going to be working on. And I feel like that's why it took until now for her to be able to listen to the hypnosis. Donna, your higher self was so serious. See, that's the thing too. So one of the other ones that I've done recently on another friend, her higher self was so slow and so soft spoken, and she is like a big bold person. She speaks fast, like she's like quick, like talks like how I talk really fast. That's how she talks. And her higher self though was like so slow. Each word was so, and she's someone who's such a deep meditator. So it wasn't about like her not being able to be in that space because she has intense meditations, intense journeys, intense visuals. And really, like the thing that she afterwards kind of took away from that, first, she was frustrated. She said that like her conscious mind, because you have your subconscious mind and your conscious mind kind of is like almost seems like it's taking a back seat. And it's kind of seems like it's sitting there observing and sometimes judging a little bit. But her conscious mind was, she said when she got up, she was so frustrated. Like, damn, why couldn't my higher self just spit it out? And then it was interesting that after that, when she thought about it, she felt a little bit like, oh, I think my higher self is calling me to be slower, to be more deliberate, to be more patient. It was very relevant when you listened to it a few months ago. Yes. Right, and this is such a testament to the notion that time is really simultaneous, it really is, and that's the thing that is crazy about the hypnosis. One of the things that comes up in a lot of when you watch the old recordings of Dolores's conferences or even the recordings of the QHHT classes, one of the things that is so interesting is that multiple people have asked similar questions, and it goes back also to the Nostradamus books, which was what my Apocalypse series was about, the Dolores Cannon Nostradamus books. What's happening in that hypnosis is also simultaneous time because there's sometimes people like there was this one example that came up in one of like Dolores's lectures. They said that they put someone under hypnosis and the person, it was their birthday in like the 1500s or something like that. And so she put people under or this QHHT practitioner put someone under, and it was that person's birthday in that life. And then they said, they asked the question, "How do you say happy birthday in your language?" The person says it, and then they're like, "Oh, now everybody's laughing at me." And the practitioner's like, "Why is everybody laughing at you?" They're like, "Because you just told me to say happy birthday at my own birthday party, and everybody heard me." And then they were like, "Wait, what? You said happy birthday to me out loud, but the people there heard you say it?" So that's the thing that happened with the Dolores Cannon Nostradamus stuff, is when Brenda, the first person that was put under in that book, went to a past life where she was a student of Nostradamus. Nostradamus understood what was happening and he said, "Oh, I've been trying to contact the future." And Dolores is like, "What does he mean he's been trying to contact the future?" And he's like, "Oh God, you guys in the future still don't freaking get simultaneous time yet? Like, geez, all these hundreds of years and you're still stupid?" And like I said in the Apocalypse series, Nostradamus was such a dick, which was so great, which is what made it so enjoyable because it was just so funny to see him like be so frustrated with how we are still not that far ahead of his time. I'm actually going to listen to my hypnosis again soon too. Have to validate my identity here on TikTok. So yeah, you read that, the perfect example of simultaneous time. It was so good. Um, so let's see what else. Uh, so when Marcella was under, what was interesting is like the higher self is going to communicate with you the way that it needs to communicate with you, in the way that is receptive to you. You watch the JK Ultra series once a month at minimum and absorb something new, a different angle, a different perspective, each and every rewatch. Such a wealth of infinite information, wisdom. I so agree. That's the thing that's crazy is even when I rewatch, which I don't do very often, but in the occasion that I rewatch my own series, it's like a new download to me. Like, that's what's crazy about it. Like, when I rewatched the Earthshift series, even though I already knew that stuff, it still unlocks something new. So that's why I wanna listen to my hypnosis again. Maybe I'll do what Marcella did where she took a couple of clips. Maybe maybe I'll do that also, take some clips. You believe that Nostradamus contacted you when you were 17. Oh, wow. Maybe he did, who knows? Let's see. Does anyone has anyone done hypnosis on Zoom? So there is a lot of practitioners that do a lot of different types of hypnosis on Zoom. It is very common. The QHHT specifically was not supposed to be done on Zoom, but also, I mean, Dolores Cannon was born in the 1930s and she died in 2014. So, she was not even like in the books when she went from an analog recording to a digital recorder, she was so against it. She's like, "No, you can't use a digital recorder." And it's so funny because Dolores more than anybody knows about the quantum that you don't need to be in person. She didn't even need to be in the same century as Nostradamus. So she knew the level of the quantum, but she was, I believe, also limited by her age, because, she died in her 80s. She was born in 1934 or something like that. So, um, you know, I mean, she's like the same age as Joe Biden. No, no. Um, but she was a little bit older than Joe Biden. But, as in if she was still alive, she's like, I think when she died, she was around Joe Biden's current age, but besides the point. So I do believe that it can be done online. I've been put under hypnosis online. I do my group hypnosis in my Substack once a month, and people get really good results, even for a more general type of group hypnosis. So, because I've done so many of the group hypnosis and had such success with that, I've been put under online. Many other people do it online. So that's what I'm going to be doing after in September. So I'll be offering the QHHT sessions online. Like I said, I'm not going to call it QHHT out of respect for um, the method and Dolores Cannon's family. But it will be using her same exact script. And like I said, I'm going to change, we'll actually add one thing to the process about internet stuff. So there'll be some type of post-hypnotic suggestion that says, if anything happens to your connection, if anything happens to your internet, if anything happens with your computer, you're going to be able to get up and fix it, plug it in, re-sign on, and I'm going to be here. I'm going to be available. I'm going to be waiting. There's nothing to worry about. So if anything were to happen, so that's like the number one thing that I want to make sure. I'm going to talk to a couple of QHHT experts that I know. Thankfully, I'm lucky that I have access to people like Sarah Brexman Cosme or Jerome DeWitt, who's the one who did mine. I do have access to a lot of very high level QHHT experts. So even though the official QHHT people do not want it done online, I do want to do my due diligence to make sure that it's done safely with all the proper extra precautions taken just in case someone's internet gives out or someone's computer dies. And also I want to make sure that I add pre-preparation stuff about making sure that your computer's plugged in, double checking the plug. So that's the little things that I want to make sure that I have all in order before I start offering the sessions. You did yours via Zoom and it was BQH. Yeah, so that's the other method. So basically, BQH is the same thing as QHHT, and there's just, I think, one extra sentence in the thing, which is about the online stuff. Um, so I would probably not get certified in BQH because it is the same thing. Really down for the hypnosis. Yes. So that's the thing is when I do start offering it, it's going to be very limited because it can take anywhere from 5 to 8 hours depending on the person. So the way that a QHHT session works is that you start by going through the person's life story, depending on the person, how intense that life story is. And then we then go into, now some people will go into a past life. Oh, Sydney does it in San Diego. So if there is, um, some people go to a past life, like the girl that I did this past week, she went to a past life. When I did Marcella went to an earlier point of this life. So I've had a lot of people. I would say actually more of the ones that I've done have gone to this life of an earlier stage, which is interesting. And if you guys look, like I'll show you again. Hold on, let me see. Window. I have this, I just made a playlist on my YouTube called QHHT and Hypnosis. It has the live recording of me and Sarah Brexman Cosme. The second one is some stories um, of other people's sessions that I've done. The next one is my own past lives and things that I've experienced from QHHT and other methods of hypnosis. Other stuff, another one about astral travel and hypnosis. This one here is when I went under with Yvonne Smith. It was talking about it. So it was a different method of hypnosis, but it's really interesting because it's the play by play of my abduction experience, which I was not able to get in the QHHT, but using Yvonne Smith's method, we were able to get that information. And then I have this video on here on the playlist too, which is about Dolores Cannon's life, about her past lives, about her afterlife, all these different things about Dolores specifically. So these things, this hypnosis, these talk more about it. And I am going to make another video before I officially start offering the digital sessions with like how to come up with your questions, how to prepare, things like that, because I want to make sure that. So, kind of the other thing that I think I'm going to be doing when not calling it QHHT is to add. So, I'm not going to change the hypnosis script because Dolores developed that for 40 years. And I think it's perfect exactly the way it is. But some of the things that I want to add is I want to add a little bit of the pre-information to be more official, from my own research of Dolores's stuff and my own experiences. I want like a little bit more clear of how to ask questions, um, what type of questions to ask. And then I also, maybe want to create a little follow-up worksheet for you to fill out on your own, give it a little JK Ultra flair. You guys know I like to create a little worksheet, workbook, follow-up. So those are the things I want to do to maybe enhance the experience before and after, because I think the method itself is perfect. I think that the questions before and maybe a little bit of follow-up after, not a one-on-one follow-up, but maybe a little worksheet that you can fill out, some journal prompts. So that's probably what I'm going to add to the experience to make it customized to me. You went to a few past lives as well, and as well as a future life where you felt so foggy. It felt like you never brought you fully back from the rest of the day. Oh, wow. So it's really important to make sure you eat after a QHHT session too. So QHHT is quantum healing hypnosis technique. It's the hypnosis style that Dolores Cannon created. And with that hypnosis style, she actually, that's how she wrote all of her books. A lot of people believe that Dolores was a channeler or a psychic. None of that is true. Everything was written through this hypnosis method. Let's see. About 16 years ago, you were hypnotized. Oh, I read two different comments together. I read Donna and Allison's comments as one. There was a life where you were with a council that you were gathered to help people move into 5D. Oh, wow, Donna, that's interesting because that was similar to mine. Sounds like you're on top of things. Thanks. Thanks, Melissa. Your own sprinkle. Exactly. My own little sprinkle onto this experience because, I've read all the Dolores books and my live on YouTube as well. Yes. Um, so if anyone wants to look at the replay, if you missed in the beginning, the whole thing will be on YouTube. And so, with everything that I've done of researching Dolores's work, and initially I didn't want to do it online because Dolores's wishes were to not do it online. But and I mean, this has been 2 years, I could have 2 years ago started doing it when all of my stuff was going viral and I was getting asked to do these sessions 100 times a day. Um, but I wanted to make sure that it was right and that it was the right thing to do. And as I have worked on it, meditated, all of these different things, um, I, in meditation was like, who better than me? Who better than me? You know, I've put so much respect on Dolores Cannon's name and her work and really like honored everything that she did, that I'm not being disrespectful by doing it, And that's why, like I said, out of respect, I'm not going to call it QHHT, even though it is. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Miss Chris. So what else? As you guys know, I'm doing the one-on-one consultations the one-on-one coaching type stuff as well. Um, I might have one spot open. So if you were interested, you can check it in the link in my bio here or just below in the description or on TikTok in my bio. I have like an application for the one-on-one process. Now, please, please, please I do not have anybody that works for me. I don't have a manager. I don't have an assistant. I don't have anyone that works for me. So I had a weird thing happen last week. I was freaking fired up. Um, some person text messaged me to my real phone number, text me and said, I talked to your manager, Psychic Mike, and he gave me a better deal on the one-on-ones and then gave me your phone number. So this scammer gave my actual real phone number and I stole this person's money. Well, I had Psychic Mike's phone number. So I called him. It was very creepy. It was very creepy and it was very demented and it was not a regular scam. Because a regular scam is like random. Hello, beloved. I love your energy. Let me give you a reading. So I will never contact anybody about anything, about any hypnosis, about any one-on-one, about anything. I can barely keep up with what I'm doing. So do not fall for it. I will never message you. I've had people on TikTok like say, "Oh, you followed me and then unfollowed me." And like, no offense. That was a fake account. I did not. I did not contact you. I do not offer readings. I'm not offering any sessions. My one-on-one coaching, the only way to even get the link to the consultation is you have to send in an application. You send in the application through the form on my Beacons AI. You click it, you send in the application. You can't even just book it. I need to see that you're writing something serious, that you actually want to do this type of coaching. And then after I review it, if I have the opening or when I have the opening is then when I respond. This is not a cattle call to work together. I'm not cranking them out. I don't have an open schedule. This is very limited. I'm only doing like maximum 5 people at a time. And when I have the 5, then I wait until one of them is done before I reach out to the next person on the form. So I just had one that was completed and then I reached out to the next person on the form. So that's the way that I'm doing it. So please, nobody send any money to anybody else. I don't know how much money this person sent, but they fucked with the wrong one because I'm an internet web sleuth. So I found all this person's information and I blasted them. And I also called him and talked to him on the phone. He lied on the phone. But I knew he was lying. And I was like, your emotional manipulation is not working on me. He's like, I just work in a store. Oh no, I have a sick father. I'm like, your emotional manipulation is not going to work on me, sweetheart. Send their money back. I don't know if the person got their money back. I tried to call them. I'm not surprised that the person doesn't want to deal with me either. But There's so many fake accounts around. It's unbelievable, right? You saw my Instagram about this gross abuse of trust, influence, and power. I mean, it really is. And what was so nasty about it is that it was such a specific scam because it wasn't like, oh, hello, beloved. Can I read your cards? It was like specifically about the service that I just started offering like less than 2 months ago. So it means this person was actually watching what I was doing because it's not like I even did a post about it. I did not do a TikTok video. I didn't do a dedicated video about the one-on-one because like I said, this is not a cattle call. I'm not asking for the floodgates to open. I'm like, this, if it aligns with the right people, reach out, send in the application. I will respond as quick as I have the opening. And then that's that. They're watching you right now. I know. Well, Psychic Mike is blocked on everything, um, except for my phone. You want the one-on-one and the hypnosis. So the hypnosis will probably be available after I come back from Peru because next month I'm going to Peru. I'm going to be going to Solterra, the ayahuasca retreat, and I'm going to be having my second experience with an ayahuasca retreat. I'm so excited. So Solterra is a little different than Rhythmia. So now, one of the things that was really interesting, and I will make a dedicated video about this as I get closer and also after. But one of the things that I was interested in is the difference between Rhythmia and Solterra. Because, I mean, one of the things is a price difference, of course. Rhythmia is much more expensive, but I wanted to know what is the difference with Solterra. And the woman that I spoke to, she's just absolutely lovely. She was wonderful. So I'm so excited for this experience because she said, so Rhythmia kind of gets a bit of a bad reputation that they have such large ceremonies because sometimes, my ceremony was 40 people, but that was actually small. Sometimes they go up to 90 to 100 people. And a lot of people are like, they're so greedy. They just pack people in a room. And I did not get that sense from it. And it was interesting when I talked to the woman from Solterra. She said, actually, a lot of people say that, but it's not the case. It's because Rhythmia is following the Colombian method. And the Colombian method of doing ayahuasca is actually the whole community does it. So the traditional way that it was done was like the whole village does it. So that to have 100 people in a session in a ceremony is not crazy for the Colombian style because the Colombian style is everybody in the whole town, village would do it together. And it was a more of a community based ceremony. So that's why they do those higher numbers versus Solterra does the Shipibo, and it's Shipibo something, Shipibo hyphenated. When I do a full video on it, I'll have all the proper information. Um, are you going to make a video about this experience too? Oh yeah. I'm going to do a whole nother series, like the way that I did my like 4 or 5 parts of every single day, all the details, everything about the facility, everything about each night of my ceremony. I'm going to do the same exact thing for Solterra. Um, because I mean, when you're thinking about doing these things, I like to watch stuff of other people's experiences. So I like to do a full in-depth thing like that as well. So with the Shipibo method that they follow in Solterra, they have each individual is sang to directly from the shaman. So their method is only, I don't know how many, I'm not sure, but I'm assuming it's 10 to 20 people max. I don't know the numbers. I'll know after I'm there. But it's a much smaller ceremony because the shaman works individually with each person and sings to them. And basically so now with Rhythmia, the way that they kind of see it is a miracle. So Rhythmia talks about you get a miracle, it's a healing, it's something magical happens, something out of this world happens. Now with Solterra, because they follow a different tradition, that tradition doesn't believe that a miracle happens. They believe that you're restored back to your original thing. So there's no miracle because it's a restoration. you're back to your original self before things happen. So they talked about one of the things that she described is that, like, imagine like a pattern, like a indigenous pattern, like a weaving pattern. And it has all these different lines, and each person has an individual lines pattern. However, over time in life, as things happen, those lines might become crossed, they might become crooked, they might become dim, they might become weak. And that natural pattern of lines that you were born with in your natural state will some diminish throughout life or change or something happens. So they believe they the shaman sits in front of you and sees in the astral your pattern, your lines, and sees what needs to be fixed, and they sing to realign them with the frequency. So it's a different method that is happening than the rhythmia method. So I'm very excited to get to experience it. Now, same thing, you have a diet before, certain things that you can eat and can't eat, and then also to abstain from different things, to abstain from drinking, smoking. Uh, I mean, I shouldn't say it on TikTok, but any type of intimacy, uh, self-pleasuring, not just intimacy with others, and this is both of them. Rhythmia was the same way, is to abstain from intimacy with another person, but also self-pleasuring as well. Um, Caffeine, certain foods, they say pork that you can't have. I don't eat, pork. As you guys might know, if you watch my lives every Tuesday, I had been vegetarian, technically pescatarian, but I only ate salmon. So I would just say vegetarian because I don't want an explanation for why I don't eat any other fish. Um, I barely want to eat salmon. I eat it because my brain feels really sharp when I eat it. So I didn't eat meat aside from salmon for 12 years. And now, over the last couple months, when I went through the shadow work journey, I kept getting the message in meditation that I have to eat some meat, and not necessarily for my health, for one, my identity, because the reason I stopped eating meat was because I was traumatized by what was happening to the animals and the factory farming. And so I was having a part of my identity connected to a traumatic documentary, and I'm identifying and living my life based off of something that was traumatic. And then I'm avoiding eating that so that I never feel the pain that I felt during that movie. And that's not a way to live, which the movie was Food Inc. And so for my identity and for my shadow work, I had to break this cycle and change. And then the other thing that kind of was also coming through is that I am traveling more. I'm starting to leave the country more. And there's going to be times where I don't have food that fits the standards that I need. And that basically, if I'm somewhere and I have to eat meat, I need to not be eating it for the first time in this setting to start getting my stomach and my body used to eating it in the safer setting of being home in a more controlled environment where I can go and lay down after or whatever. Whereas you don't want to have to be forced to eat meat for the first time when you're on vacation and you're already out of your comfort zone and you're already out of your setting. So, um, you're a carnivore for medical reasons, so you don't know if you can abstain from animals for ayahuasca. So, the ayahuasca diet, you are allowed to it depends on the center, it depends on the shaman, it depends on the style. You can, eat meat, but not red meat, and you can't eat pork. You can't eat pork for 30 days before. I think you can't eat red meat for 2 weeks before. But that's the thing. You would have to talk to the practitioners because sometimes if it is like a medical thing, you can have chicken. Uh, but if it's a medical thing, maybe that would. But the same thing for like people, if you're on like antidepressants, SSRIs, things like that, you have to stop them as well for the ayahuasca. So there is a lot of things that it's not for everybody. Yeah, and exactly, I agree. The type O blood type O is recommended to eat meat. Exactly, because people who have type O blood are allergic to dairy and are allergic to, gluten naturally. 90% of them, maybe even more than 90% of them are allergic to dairy. So if you have a type O blood, you actually have to be reading, "Oh, you are type O." Yeah, if you're type O, you actually have to be eating red meat. Um, I do not have that blood type. My blood type is the only one that actually is not allergic to dairy. All of them eventually become allergic to dairy, which is why most people become lactose intolerant as adults. However, for me, being type B positive, I actually don't, um, I actually am not really supposed to eat red meat except for lamb, which no. And, like, some other weird stuff, like venison and, no, no, no. So I actually the diet that I have is actually pretty close because me as vegetarian, I do eat dairy and I do eat cheese, and those are actually good for type B positive blood, but, you guys gotta look it up. Look up the blood type diet and look up your type of diet. So A positive, type A or A negative. Look up type A blood, diet because, it is and that's the thing too, is it does depend on everybody's body. You're technically not supposed to eat red meat, but then you feel better when you do. You're O negative and you've never known about the dairy gluten intolerance, which is much of your sporadic indigestion suddenly makes sense. Interesting. Yeah, Anita, you should look up the blood type diet, because type O has a very different diet than the other types. They're very like when it comes to the dairy, it screws them up. And it is a little bit restrictive, but very heavy towards the red meat. Can you imagine having a trip after consuming all of those foods? What it might be like might be very disturbing. So then that's the thing. If you don't go by the diet, which last time my diet was already pretty close, so I didn't follow the ayahuasca diet very strictly. But then, if you guys remember, uh, if you guys remember in my 4-part series about my last um, ayahuasca ceremony. So I mostly abstained from the foods that I wasn't supposed to. For me, the big thing was quitting the weed. And I did most of the diet, but because I didn't eat pork and didn't eat red meat and didn't eat this stuff, I kind of stayed in my regular diet. And right before I left for the airport, I had a Pop Tart. And I don't normally eat a Pop Tart. So I don't know what the fuck got into me. I don't know why the fuck I decided the one time I'm gonna eat a Pop-Tart is on the way to the airport to go do the ayahuasca ceremony. And you guys, oh god, if you watched my ayahuasca series on YouTube, night 1, you would know that I spent the entire night in the bathroom shitting my brains out. I literally thought I was gonna die like Elvis on the toilet. I literally every time I got up from the toilet to go back and lay down, I clogged the toilet during the ceremony, mind you. And then every time I thought I was done and I was like, "Please, I can't anymore. I cannot." And then I would get up and then the sacred geometry painting on the wall was like, "Sit down. You're not done." I'm like, "Please, I need to be done. I'm done. I need to be done. Please." So I tried to be done. I left the bathroom and I was brought right back into that bathroom. So you could not follow the diet. I mostly followed the diet and I was dying. So maybe it'll happen again because there was nothing in my stomach, which was what was messed up. Is I was already hardly been eating. You're not allowed to eat from like early that day. You only get to eat breakfast. They already gave you 2 colonics at Rhythmia. Like, and then I was still like I said in that video, my ass was 10,000 trumpets. There was no getting out of it. It was I could never be embarrassed by anything ever again. It was full blown, the most extreme thing that I ever experienced. I thought that I was gonna die like Elvis on the toilet. Uh, these lives are so enlightening and a joy to catch. Oh, thank you. So, go right ahead, don't do the diet. I'm just telling you, watch my video where when we're supposed to be observing noble silence, where everybody is in noble silence, my ass was blowing up. The entire freaking ceremony could hear it because it was so quiet because everybody was observing noble silence except for me and mine. So, hey, don't do it. Don't follow the diet. Go right ahead. You've been warned. Uh, oh, you quit weed at the same time too. Oh, good for you, Angelica. How are you feeling? Let me see. Can you imagine having a trip after consuming those? Yes. Do you think that going to Rhythmia first and letting go of so many things will be easier for the shaman to bring you back in line? I think so, because I'm a completely changed person after Rhythmia. So I think, however, that doesn't mean that there's still not deeper work to be done. And as you guys know, when I talked about my shadow work journey and all of that, like I have also got through a lot since my last ceremony. So it might be intense. Still, I'm not thinking that I don't got work to do because you know what? Mother Ayahuasca wouldn't call me back if I was done. She wouldn't have called me back and brought me all the way to Peru. So I'm sure she has work to do. I'm sure she has work to do. I just kind of hope that it's not as brutal as last time, because I mean, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I literally, I also purged out the other end, but not that much. I barely threw up. I threw up probably once each night, to be honest. No, I threw up once each night at least. Yeah, so I still did, but it just wasn't like that bad. It was like I each night got yeah, all 4 nights I did actually. But the first night when I did, and I was like, "Please, Mother Aya, I don't wanna throw up. I hate throwing up. Please, no." And she's like, "Alright, well, there is another option." And then I learned about that other option in the bathroom all night. So, um, will you follow the diet this time? So I mostly followed it. I mostly did. That's the crazy part is, like, I really mostly did. I was supposed to quit smoking. Oh, thank you, Carla. I was supposed to quit smoking 30 days before, but I only quit smoking 14 days before. And the other thing was I had mostly followed it, but I had that freaking Pop-Tart right before leaving for the airport. So, so far, I haven't started really the diet yet. I already cut out the smoking a couple months ago. And I've quit officially for good. Although I have been having some cravings recently. I was over my cravings, but now I have had some cravings for smoking again, but I'm over it. But the we'll see. We'll see what else is there. Oh yeah, when I had vomited on the first night, the first time that I had purged out that side, um the uh the guy one of the guys came over and he gave me a piece of tissue to wipe my mouth. And then I was like, "This was the kindest thing anybody's ever done for me." So instead of wiping my mouth with the tissue, I just held it for like 45 minutes. I was like, "Phew, the compassion. I never felt so deep." And so I was like, "I'm not even gonna wipe my mouth with it. I'm just gonna hold it. Thank you." And then I looked over at the toilet paper roll that you have next to your bed, not the one in the toilet. The one that you have next to your bed, which is your personal toilet paper roll to, like, wipe your mouth or whatever if you need it or, like, your tears. And then I just held my toilet paper roll, like, "Every time I use toilet paper, I'm gonna remember how beautiful everything is." I did not remember that. I do use toilet paper every day, and sometimes I forget. So I lost weight. I mean, I was looking real vibrant and fit after those ayahuasca ceremonies. I'm just saying. I was looking real good. But because I was so empty and so depleted, it wasn't like, fully withstanding forever. Um But I wish that every time I use toilet paper, I would remember the compassion and the love of the universe like I promised myself I would. I was like, "I'm never gonna use toilet paper and forget. That's my daily reminder." Um, and I was just hugging the toilet paper roll. But then on the second night, it was so intense the second night that, my toilet paper roll fell and I couldn't even lift my arm to grab it. And it only, got, maybe, 6 inches away from me. And I was like, "Ugh, I can't pick up my hand and get it. I'll just wait until someone picks it up and brings it back." You'll never think of Pop-Tarts the same way. Yeah. What was so funny is I was in CVS last night grabbing, a gallon of water, and then for some reason, I don't know what the frick got into me. I looked at the Pop-Tarts and I was like, "Maybe I should" no, I don't even eat these. I don't even eat these. Why did I feel compelled to get them? Oh, thank you, Anita. It's probably the lighting. No fever. No, I mean, I don't think I had a fever then, but not like we take your temperature. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have a completely different experience. Pop-Tarts are a spiritual gateway. You know what's funny? Now that I think of it, when I was younger on AOL, my favorite chat room was "I'm an evil Pop-Tart." So there was this chat room called "I'm an Evil Pop-Tart," and everybody would kinda, go in, and sometimes you would, role play a little as a evil Pop-Tart or just, talk shit or whatever, and that was my thing. I loved the evil Pop-Tart chat room. That was my jam on AOL. So maybe it is some type of weird childhood thing because I never even really ate them a lot growing up because we were poor. My mom was not buying no Pop-Tarts for us. But, I would always go in that evil Pop-Tart room. Oh, thank you, Tin Man. Thank you for reminding me. Before I go, um, we have the Galactic Origins cruise. Let me pull it up. Galactic Origins cruise. Oh, right. So, as you guys know, we're going to be doing the cruise from December 14th to 21st at the end of the year. It's going to be on a um, beautiful uh, cruise ship, the Celebrity Equinox. We're going to have a cosmic voyage. We're going to be going right next to the Bermuda Triangle. So we're going to have all of that interesting information and downloads, maybe from the Bermuda Triangle. Then we're going to be stopping in sacred sites near Tulum in Mexico. And then we'll be stopping at a sacred site in Belize. And then we'll be stopping at another sacred site in Honduras. And then on our way back, we're going to stop in Mexico once more. And then we will be passing back through near the Bermuda Triangle and then back to Florida. So you can fly into Orlando. Yep. You from the Port Cana Canaveral. And then we'll have a day at sea, day 2. Day 3 is Costa Maya, Mexico, Belize, Honduras, Mexico again, and then back at sea. We're gonna have a bunch of different speakers. Laura Eisenhower is Dwight D. Eisenhower's granddaughter. JJ and Desiree Hertock, they are the writers of the Keys of Enoch. They're absolute icons. This guy right here, Jerry Sargent, he has He does light language, and I've seen his videos before. I don't know a ton about him. Paul Williams will be there. He's a famous QHHT practitioner. Vivian Chouvet. Vivian is a Arcturian. She channels Arcturians. We have Debbie Solaris, who does Galactic Akashic Records readings and also works with Arcturians. We're going to have me. We're going to be having some others as well. Alan Steinfeld and Tony Ghazi, who channels mantis beings, plus many others. I'm not super familiar with the others, but I'm excited to get to know them. And what's going to be really cool about this is it's 7 days, 7 nights. We're going to all of these different sites. We're going to be going to ancient lands. It's going to have 24-hour accommodations, food, um, all inclusive on the trip. There will be some extra charges when we go to the sites because there'll be extra voyages. Um, so you could get a shared room. So if you want to travel alone, you can get a shared room and then you'll make a friend. You can leave some notes about the type of person you want a room with, and they'll try to pair you with someone that you're interested in pairing with. And then you kind of get to make a friend there. I think it's a great solo trip. It's also a great roommate, fun, go with a friend, go with a partner, or you could just get a private room for yourself. So there you go, guys. If you want to go to the Galactic Origins cruise, the tickets are available. Make sure you say my name, JK Ultra, when you get your ticket, because I have a I have to also mm, make a certain amount of tickets for myself to even go. So it's not really like a big money making thing. It's more so we're going to cover our costs and be able to have this awesome thing together, which is going to be cool. And so if you have been wanting to have a vacation, but maybe you don't have anyone to go with, or maybe you kind of want to do something. Do they have to have vaccines? I don't believe so, because then none of us are going, because then no one's getting on the boat. So I don't believe that's the case. I think that all of those regulations are gone now. I don't think that they're using any of those regulations, because then no one gets to go. None of the speakers will be on that boat. And half of the people. So then no one gets to go. So what a once in a lifetime experience. Yes. So consider going, because it could be a lot of fun. And it's in December, end of December. Our last day will be the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. What is it? Is the Galactic Origins cruise. It's part of the Celebrity Equinox. There's also a bunch of other cool stuff on the cruise. There's different. So say you didn't want to do all the stuff that we're doing, or at night you want to go do your own thing. There's really cool shows going on where they have a show called The Five Elements, which is so on brand, right? So it's kind of like a Cirque du Soleil type of thing, but instead of the 4 elements, it's like an alchemical 5 elements thing, completely unrelated to our stuff. It's just on the cruise. There's obviously jacuzzis and spas and restaurants and buffets and pools and all different types of fun things going on. I think there's like indoor golf and all different things. There's a ton of amenities. So even if you didn't want to only stay with our group, which will be fun to be with our group, because it's fun to be able to travel with a whole bunch of like-minded people and go and get to see these places with the right type of people, So if you wanted to do a more conscious, more aware, more like-minded people type of trip, it's a great thing to do. Let's see. Have I been invited to the Monroe Institute? I was invited to the Monroe Institute 2 years ago, and then the guy who invited me, got fired. So then I didn't end up going, because, he never finished putting through the information for me to go. So I would love to be invited to the Monroe Institute, but, it didn't work out for me last time because the guy got fired right after. Um, but I would love to. Is it Galactic Cruise? Are we riding a UFO? No, we are riding a luxury cruise right next to the Bermuda Triangle. would love to be there, but you're not going without your girls and you need passport um sorting for them. Well, that's the thing too. If anyone is looking to go with children, there is you could reach out and there's like a different type of occupancy because then the children are not going to be part of the seminar. So if you did want to go with kids or with a partner, there's a different price, a little bit less for people that are not going to be going to the seminar stuff. So if there was someone that was looking to go with maybe a partner or your kids or something, but that the kids are not going to go to the lectures and the events, there is another type of ticket for that. So um how can we go on the cruise when they know there's an antichrist out there? I mean, how do you do anything in your life, if you are worried about the antichrist? Um, don't be scared to go. You went to Israel with strangers and you made friends looking into it. Yeah, that's the thing is you go, where do you find tickets? At galacticorigins.com, galacticorigins.com. Take a look around. When you fill it out, tell them that JK Ultra sent you, um, so that I get to go and meet my minimum as well of tickets for me to even be allowed to go. So, and like I said, it's not a big money making thing because a lot of the costs are high already. So, um, have I heard of the Galactic Federation? I sure have. I did a video about them. Um, you said you're not getting vaccinated. Well, Veronica, none of us are. So don't worry. Um, do you need to be invited to the Monroe Institute? No, I think you can go. I think just they do maybe some stuff with like influencers. Yes. You'd be going strictly for the zany, otherworldly, celestial stuff. Interesting. You said there's a workaround for a passport on the Royal Caribbean cruises. Interesting. Okay. They need a shaman there too. Okay, guys. So that'll be all for tonight's Tuesday Night Live. Thank you everybody for joining in. Um, again, check out my Substack. We do a once a month group hypnosis about different things. I haven't decided what I want this month to be about yet. So there's also replays for any of the people who are members. There's replays for the last 6 months of hypnosis. We've done a lot of fun things. We've done a group past life regression using Dolores Cannon's group method. We've done a future life regression. We've done a meet your guides regression. We've done an inner child healing. We've done the healing vortex, which was created by Marissa Peer. And then we also, the most recent one, why am I blanking? What was the most recent one? Oh, life purpose. So, if you're not ready to do a QHHT session or you're just interested in like seeing if you can be hypnotized or anything like that, go and check out my Substack. It's $11 a month and we do a once a month live event and then you get access to all of that then you get access to all of those um past recordings. All right, guys. What is this? All right, just one person to block before we go. We made it the whole thing. Only one person to block. Okay. Well, that was my parting gift was to block that guy. Okay. Anyway, guys, thank you. And we will see you guys next Tuesday. All right. Bye, everybody.